New Hampshire is former GOP presidential candidate and Utah Governor Jon Huntsman. Governor, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Maria. Great to be with you.
How would you characterize what we just heard in terms of leadership? Do you think Putin is upstaging Obama?
Well, I think in the case of the Middle East, he absolutely is upstaging the president. He's double downing basically on a bad policy. He has his only ally in Syria in the region. And I think he's playing a short tactical game. I'm not sure it's going to turn out well as a long strategic game. But here's the problem. If he is able to make some sense out of the situation in Syria and western Iraq by putting ISIS down, for example, he could win a lot of advocates throughout the entire Middle East region and could be a major source of influence and a power broker for a generation to come. And that for the United States is not a good outcome. We ought to be in there. We have interests, obviously, and we ought to be playing the long game instead of the short game. And I have real concerns about where this might take us.
So this whole idea of leading from behind, I mean, has it worked?
Well, you see where we are. Look what it's done in Syria. Look what it's done in Iraq. You have destabilized nation states. You have ungoverned territories. You have no functioning economies for the most part. You have our allies who are extremely concerned about what the future is going to be. We've made no progress in the region at all. The major powers now are meddling in the region. And what happens when major powers meddle in regions? You've got Turkey now just north of Syria, right. A member of NATO. You have some incident between Russia and Turkey. Well, that's going to test Article 5 and the collective security proposition of NATO. Then you have real problems. So we're on the verge here of some potentially dangerous things happening, and a little leadership would actually be a good thing. Yeah, and hopefully it's not too late in the game. It's never too late, but we have interest to be protected. We have friends and allies who are looking for U.S. leadership, because when we don't lead, then the vacuum is filled by a less benevolent actor, and that's exactly what you're seeing in Putin.
Which is what's happening right now. So you're coming at this from a different position. You are looking at creating a different party with no labels. Tell us about what you're trying to do, Governor.
We're not creating a different party. We recognize we have a two-party system, Republicans and Democrats. We have 2,000 good citizens of New Hampshire standing right outside here. The largest gathering of unaffiliated voters, I think, ever in the history of this great state. And today we're going to have most of the leading candidates on the Republican side and the Democratic side, which is also absolutely unusual, because when do you get both the Republicans and the Democrats coming together? And the whole theme is, okay, we have a two-party system. We understand that. But we are people gathered here who believe in putting your country before your party and getting stuff done that gets the political system to focus on the big issues of the day.
Governor,
so as we fight, as we engage in finger pointing and acrimony, it makes it impossible to focus on jobs and a balanced budget and energy self-sufficiency and fixing entitlements. And we're making no progress
You're
there.
right.
Governor, shouldn't you be on the House floor sending that message to the GOP? They can't even elect a Speaker of the House in a rational way. So is that really is just telling people we need to be unified really going to fix things?
Well, you know what? Change comes from the grassroots. And to say that we're always going to be in this mode of dysfunction and paralysis is absolutely wrong. And the idea that we should do nothing is absolutely the wrong choice. Doing nothing it will keep us doing exactly what we're doing. So the concerned citizens are here. We had members of Congress who have joined us, Republicans and Democrats, who are outraged. We have governors who are here today. We have local elected officials. And I'm guessing, Maria, that the kind of pressure that we're going to put on the political system and the kinds of conversations that the candidates will have when they're here, which will be not just what they want to do for the country, but how they're going to get it done, which is the most important question of all, because that how presupposes that you're going to bring people together, build diverse coalitions, and work with the other party. And without that, it's impossible to get anything done.
Right.
So we are a very interesting grassroots movement, really focused on problem solving at the end of the day. You can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat. We've got left wing, we've got right wing, we've got everything in between here. And we all believe in putting America first.
Well, I like the way you're setting it up.
The time is right to begin focusing on the issues that really do matter.
Right.
And we're going to get there. This is what happens in America. You get these little entrepreneurial startups like you have with no labels. They put pressure on the body politic, and pretty soon people get the message.
Yeah, I like the way you're setting it up with no labels and sort of open to both sides weighing in, because you're right. A lot of the the just fighting gets in the way to getting anything done. I'm with Mike Murphy today from Rosecliff Capital. Mike.
Hey, Governor, I know you started your career with President Reagan, and, President Reagan had a point of not attacking your own party. Isn't that just a simple place for the Republican Party to start, to stop bashing each other from within?
Well, he also said that you can be my 80% friend as opposed to my 20% enemy. I watched him in action. He was a big tent, big picture, optimistic, visionary leader. And people liked to be around him because he was good-hearted, he had a sense of direction, and he made people feel good. It was a big tent party, and one of my concerns is that we're getting to a smaller and smaller footprint as a party. So how do you get the 270 electoral college votes that you need to win the presidency if you can't carry states like Ohio and Virginia and Colorado and Florida? It makes it absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
So the message I take from Ronald Reagan, who was a great uniter, is that we've got to bring people in as opposed to scare them out. We can accept differences, we can have different worldviews and opinions, but we have to have some transcendent issues that do bring us together as Republicans. And there are plenty of them. Balanced budgets, a smaller tax base, rolling back the burden of government regulation, a big, bold, confident position in the world. There's so much that brings us together as Republicans that we can take from the playbook. We just have to remember those simple principles of the Reagan years that really allowed us to succeed, and we can do it all over again.
Here's Anastasia Amoroso.
Governor, behind you, you have a great background which says stop fighting and start fixing. And this is something that you just mentioned as well. What will it take to unify the Republican Party? I mean, what sets of principles can do the trick?
Well, I think by focusing on what the American people are looking for. The American people want shared goals. The American people want problem solving around the issues that really matter. And it was interesting, Maria, when we did some very sophisticated polling of the American people, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it seemed that the same level of support came around a jobs agenda, fixing entitlements, Medicare and Social Security, energy self-sufficiency, and a balanced budget. It's no more complicated than that. If the Republican Party, in line with Democrats who want to do the same thing, were able to embrace some shared goals. And you remember Ronald Reagan also succeeded because he had some shared goals with Tip O'Neill on tax reform and entitlement reform. Bill Clinton had the same kind of thing with Speaker Gingrich. They wanted to balance the budget. They had a common goal. They took different pathways, of course, in getting there, but they got to the same outcome. We haven't had big goals for this nation in a very long time. And I submit to you that the Republican Party could hit it out of the ballpark by articulating some big goals that are right for America. They don't have to be heavy government and government intrusion, but big goals that really get us ahead in the game that will inspire the people and bring on board a new generation of young people who are looking for a sign. They really want a sign of hope as they begin to get out in the workplace that they're going to be okay, that their country is going to lead the charge economically and in terms of international affairs. So it can be done, but it's going to take problem solving, shared goals, and a sense of a common destiny in order to get there.
Governor, you make a lot of great points. Thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks, Maria. Always a pleasure.